Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, she walks alone because she isn't like the rest. She was never meant to be. From the moment she opened her eyes to this world, she was different. Not better, not above, just different. There was a spark in her, something wild and untamed, something the world couldn't quite place. So it tried to label her. Too emotional, too intense, too ambitious, too much. But she knew she wasn't too much. She was just enough for something greater than what anyone else could see. She walks alone because her path was never supposed to be crowded. See, the chosen ones, they don't take the road everyone else does. They don't follow the signs that say this way is safe or this way is popular. No. She forges her own path. Through fog, through fire, through fear. She doesn't walk alone because no one loves her. She walks alone because she loves herself enough to keep walking even when no one else understands the direction she's going in. She walks alone because silence speaks to her in ways noise never could. In that quiet, in those lonely nights when doubt creeps in like a whisper, she listens. To the still, steady beat of her heart, it tells her, keep going. And she does. Not because she has all the answers, but because she has faith in the questions. Because she knows that strength isn't loud. It's not always found in the spotlight. Sometimes real strength is built in the shadows, away from applause, away from validation. She walks alone because her dreams scare people. Not because they're bad dreams, but because they're big. Too big to fit in small minds or shallow conversations. And that's okay. She's not here to make people comfortable. She's here to make impact. And impact is never born in comfort zones. So she walks forward, carrying her vision like a flame, knowing that some will try to blow it out, but others will one day use that same flame to light their own way. She walks alone because she knows her worth, not the kind of worth measured by likes, titles, or tags, but the kind that comes from within, the unshakable kind, the kind that doesn't need approval because she's already approved herself. And yes, the world may try to test her, it might throw stones, it might build walls, but she will always rise. Sometimes quietly, sometimes boldly, but always powerfully, because a chosen woman doesn't crumble. She builds. She walks alone because she refuses to settle for half loves, for almost opportunities, for anything less than what sets her soul on fire. And sometimes that means being misunderstood. It means saying no when everyone else expects a yes. It means walking away from places that don't value her light, even if it means walking alone. But she'd rather walk alone in truth than be surrounded by comfort built on lies. She walks alone because leadership is lonely. But she doesn't fear the loneliness. She knows it's the price of being a pioneer, of being the first, of being the one who breaks cycles, sets new standards, and dares to rewrite the script. And deep down she understands she's not walking away from people. She's walking ahead of them. So that one day others will look up and say, because she walked alone, I found the courage to stand. She walks alone, not because she lacks love, but because she is love. Love for growth, love for purpose, love for the future version of herself she hasn't met yet. And even when her steps feel heavy, even when the journey feels endless, she doesn't stop because she knows this isn't just about her. This is about legacy, about lighting torches for those who will come after her so they won't have to walk blind. So if you see her walking with fierce grace, with tired eyes but an unshaken soul, don't pity her. Don't ask why she's alone. Instead, admire the quiet fire in her stride. Know that you're witnessing something rare, something sacred. She walks alone because her heart is not wired like the rest. While others chase approval, applause, or belonging, her heart longs for depth, for something real, something beyond the surface. She feels everything deeply, painfully, beautifully, and that kind of heart It doesn't always find its match in a world that moves fast and loves slow. So she walks alone, not because she lacks connection, but because she refuses to connect with anything that doesn't stir her soul. She walks alone because her mind dares to wander where few have gone. She dreams in dimensions that others are afraid to imagine. Ideas come to her like whispers in the night, wild and powerful. But people fear what they don't understand. They mock what they can't measure. So she keeps her thoughts close, her visions protected. And when no one else can see what she sees, she doesn't stop dreaming. She simply walks alone, carrying a future only she knows how to build. She walks alone because her fire burns too bright for small spaces. She's not loud, but she is powerful. There's a storm in her, a calm, relentless storm that doesn't scream but shakes foundations. And sometimes people around her don't know how to handle that, so they try to dim her, soften her, tell her to shrink. But she won't, because her fire was never meant to warm just one room. It was meant to light up the sky. So she walks alone, fiercely, unapologetically, not because she's angry, but because she refuses to extinguish herself for anyone. She walks alone because her spirit was not built for cages. She was never meant to be tamed. Rules, roles, routines, they bore her, they box her in. And a soul like hers needs space. Space to stretch, to grow, to create. She doesn't fit into other people's molds because she was born to carve her own. And yes, sometimes that means wandering. Sometimes it means being the only one who understands her rhythm. But she would rather dance alone to her own beat than march in perfect step with a crowd that doesn't feel. She walks alone because her wounds became her wings. She has known pain, the kind that breaks you in invisible places, the kind that leaves you asking why. But she never stayed broken, she rebuilt. Slowly, quietly, and with more strength than most will ever see. Her past doesn't define her, but it does shape the way she walks. With compassion, with courage, and with an unshakable grace. She walks alone because the path to healing is often silent, and she's learned to honor that silence, not fear it. She walks alone because her love cannot be caged or conditioned. She loves big, she loves bold, but not blindly. Her love isn't desperate, it's deliberate. She doesn't chase people. She doesn't beg to be seen. When she gives her love, it's a gift, not a transaction. And until she finds someone who sees that, who respects that, she's content with her own company, because she would rather be alone in truth than together in pretense. She walks alone because her time is sacred. She has mountains to climb, not just for herself, but for those who will follow. She has books unwritten, ideas unspoken, lives to touch. She has no interest in wasting her energy on conversations that go in circles, on relationships that go nowhere, or on people who only show up when it's convenient. She walks alone because her mission is bigger than her loneliness. She walks alone because her faith carries her in herself, in the journey, in the divine timing of it all. There are days she questions everything, days the road seems endless, days the silence grows loud. But she never gives up, because something inside her whispers, keep going, you are not alone, you are becoming. And she believes that voice. She trusts it more than the noise of the world. So if you ever cross paths with her, this woman walking alone, eyes steady, heart strong, don't think she's lost. Don't assume she's broken. She's simply ahead of her time, walking into a future that's still unfolding. And every step she takes alone is one step closer to the destiny she was born for. Because her journey isn't lonely, it's legendary. She walks alone because strength is built in solitude. There is a profound quiet that comes when you are alone, a space where the world's noise fades and you are left with nothing but yourself. It's in these moments of solitude that she discovers who she truly is. Not the version the world expects, not the person defined by titles or roles, but the raw, unfiltered essence of her being. In the silence, she listens to her own heart. She feels the weight of her thoughts, the depth of her emotions, and the power that resides within her. It is here, away from distractions, that she builds the foundation of her strength, quietly, patiently, and steadily. In solitude, there is no need to seek validation from others. The opinions of the crowd become irrelevant. The judgments of society fade into the background, and all that remains is her own voice. She begins to realize that strength doesn't come from the applause of others. It comes from the conviction of your own beliefs. When she is alone, she can hear her own thoughts clearly, untangled by external noise. It's in those moments that she refines her convictions and hones her resolve. She no longer needs permission to be herself. She has learned to give herself the space to grow, to stumble, and to rise again. She walks alone because in solitude she finds clarity. The world can be chaotic and loud, full of opinions and pressures. But when she steps away from the chaos, when she is alone, she can see things more clearly. The decisions that seem so difficult in the midst of a crowd now become simple. The fears that once paralyzed her begin to lose their grip. And with each passing moment of solitude, she becomes more sure of her path. It's in the quiet that she can hear the whisper of her intuition, guiding her forward. And it's in solitude that she can hear the gentle but unyielding voice of her own courage, telling her, keep going. Strength is not just physical, it is emotional, mental, and spiritual. And solitude is the space where all these aspects of strength are nurtured. Alone, she confronts her deepest fears. Alone, she faces the darkness within, the doubts, the insecurities, the wounds that she's carried for years. It's not easy, it's painful, but it's necessary. In solitude, she doesn't run from herself. She embraces her brokenness and her imperfections. She learns that healing isn't a process that can be rushed or shared with others. It is a deeply personal journey, and she takes the time she needs to heal, to rebuild, and to transform. And with each day of solitude, she becomes more powerful, more resilient, more whole. She walks alone because in solitude, she becomes her own refuge. The world will throw challenges at her. There will be days when the weight of the world feels unbearable, when loneliness threatens to overwhelm her, when everything seems uncertain. But in those moments, she knows where to turn. Not to others, not to the distractions of the outside world, but to herself. She has learned that the greatest source of strength lies within her own soul. She has built the kind of inner peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. When the world feels like it's falling apart, she finds her center within, grounded in the strength she has cultivated in solitude. In solitude, she also discovers the power of silence. The world often tells her that she must speak up, that she must fight, that she must assert herself. But solitude has taught her that not all battles require words. Not all victories need to be loud. Sometimes silence is the most powerful statement. It is in the silence that she gains perspective, in the stillness that she gains strength. She learns to be comfortable with her own company, to find joy in the simple act of being. In solitude, she learns that she doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. She is enough, just as she is. The strength built in solitude is not a strength that fades with time. It is a strength that grows, a strength that becomes part of her very essence. It is not a fleeting moment of power, but a deep, lasting foundation that she carries with her wherever she goes. It is a quiet strength, a strength that doesn't need to be flaunted or announced, but one that is felt in her presence. When she walks into a room, people can feel it. They can sense the quiet power she carries with her. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need validation, the kind that is unshakable because it comes from deep within. She walks alone because in solitude she finds herself. She discovers the courage to face the world on her own terms. She doesn't need others to define her. She doesn't need others to validate her. She has learned that the only validation that matters is the one she gives herself. In solitude, she has found the strength to be unapologetically herself, to follow her own path, to chase her own dreams. And in this strength, she walks not just alone, but as someone who knows her worth, someone who knows her power, and someone who is ready to face whatever comes next. She walks alone because one day she won't have to. The world doesn't always understand why she chooses solitude, why she spends so much time in quiet reflection. But what they don't see is that she is laying the groundwork for something much bigger. She's not just walking away from others. She's walking towards something, toward a future that's yet to be realized. She's not alone because she doesn't deserve companionship or love, but because she knows that her journey is her own, and in these moments of solitude, she is building a strength that will one day make it possible for her to stand alongside others in ways she never imagined before. Every step she takes alone is a step toward self-discovery. She knows that only in isolation can she truly find herself, not shaped by the expectations or judgments of others, but by her own desires, dreams, and truths. It's only in the stillness that she can listen deeply to the voice inside her, the voice that whispers, "Keep going." She walks alone now because this time is sacred, a time for growth, a time to discover the parts of herself that will later serve as the foundation for everything she will build. She's patient. She's letting time do its work, knowing that in due course her efforts will be rewarded, and that the future she envisions will be one where she isn't walking alone anymore. The path she walks now will eventually lead her to the people, the relationships, and the connections she's meant to have. She walks alone because she understands that true connections can only happen when you are whole. There is a quiet wisdom in knowing that you cannot offer someone your best if you haven't first given yourself the time to become the best version of yourself. She knows that in order to build meaningful relationships, she needs to be strong in her own identity. If she's to build partnerships, whether in love, friendship, or work, she must first be secure in the person she's becoming. So, she walks alone not because she's afraid of others, but because she is still becoming. And once she has fully become herself, once she is secure in her own strength, the people who are meant to walk with her will find their way to her. She knows that in her solitude, she is preparing herself for the kind of companionship that won't require her to lose herself. And so she walks, knowing that one day her journey will no longer be solitary. She walks alone because she is learning to trust herself. In solitude, she faces her fears and her insecurities. There's no one around to reassure her, no one to lean on. It's just her and her inner world. And in this quiet place, she learns that she can rely on herself. She learns to trust her instincts, to believe in her decisions, and to stand firm in the face of uncertainty. The confidence that comes from this self-reliance is unlike any other. It's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing she has walked through the fire and emerged stronger, knowing she has faced her demons and survived. She knows that this strength will not just carry her, but will attract others who are similarly strong, who will meet her at her level, who will understand her journey and walk with her, not to complete her, but to add to the richness of her life. She walks alone because she understands that her journey is not meant to be rushed. The world may tell her that time is precious, that life is short, and that she should be seeking companionship, success, or validation, but she knows something the world has forgotten, that the most important relationship she can have is the one with herself. She takes her time. She doesn't need to follow the pace of others. She understands that rushing through life to reach the finish line means missing the lessons that come from the journey itself. So she walks slowly, taking in every step, every moment. She understands that everything in life unfolds in its own time. and she trusts that the right people will come when the time is right. The people who will understand her path, respect her journey, and complement her story will arrive not before she's ready, but when she is whole. She walks alone because in her solitude she finds clarity. The world is noisy, filled with distractions and the opinions of others. But in the quiet, she can hear herself. She can hear the desires of her heart, the dreams that have been buried beneath the expectations of others. In her solitude, she can refine her goals, shape her vision, and understand her purpose. She isn't just moving through life randomly, she's moving with intention. She knows that the clarity she gains in this space will guide her forward, ensuring that when she is no longer alone, she will be walking with others who are aligned with her vision, with her values, and with her purpose. She understands that her solitude is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful act of self-preservation and self-creation. One day when she is ready, she will walk with those who understand the depth of her journey and are ready to join her in her mission. She walks alone now because she is preparing for the future, one where she won't have to. She is building herself into someone who is capable of sustaining deep, meaningful connections. She is learning to embrace the solitude that shapes her into a stronger, wiser, more confident version of herself. And when that time comes, when the right people find their way into her life, it won't feel like a coincidence. It will feel like destiny. They will meet her as an equal, as someone who has walked through the world with grace, courage, and strength. Someone who has learned to trust herself, to trust the process, and to trust that everything comes in its own time. And so she will no longer walk alone, but in the company of those who understand that sometimes you must walk alone to truly find the people who are meant to walk with you.